All right, and welcome to God Friday Discussions. Today, Stephanie is joining me, and we're going to have a discussion on oneness. And I'll go ahead and open with a little prayer. And I think what inspired this conversation is one of the surahs in the Quran that Stephanie will read out, but um, yeah, we'll just go ahead and read a prayer, and Stephanie will get into the quote, and we can dive in. Okay, so gotta okay. Make firm our steps, O Lord, in thy path, and strengthen thou our hearts in thine obedience. Turn our faces toward the beauty of thy oneness, and gladden our bosoms with the signs of thy divine unity. Adorn our bodies with the robe of thy bounty, and remove from our eyes the veil of sinfulness, and give us the chalice of thy grace, that the essence of all beings may sing thy praise before the vision of thy grandeur. Reveal then thyself, O Lord, by thy merciful utterance and the mystery of thy divine being, that the holy ecstasy of prayer may fill our souls, a prayer that shall rise above words and letters and transcend the murmur of syllables and sounds, that all beings may be merged into nothingness before the revelation of thy splendor. Lord, these are servants that have remained fast and firm in thy covenant and thy testament, that have held fast unto the cord of constancy in thy cause, and clung unto the hem of the robe of thy grandeur. Assist them, O Lord, with thy grace. Confirm them with thy power, and strengthen their loins in obedience to thee. Thou art the pardoner, the gracious. Abdul Baha.
Beautiful. And is that
Thank
a
you.
prayer? That a prayer from the Baha'i faith?
Yes, that's a prayer from the Baha'i faith. That one was done by Abdul Baha, who's the son of Baha'u'llah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Right. Do you want me to just read what inspired me to do this research? Okay, so it's
Please. Yeah.
4171. And there is a lot. It would appear at first glance there's a lot for conflict between different faiths. But when you really look into it and you apply a good interpretation, there's a lot of opportunities for unity. It says, "O people of the book, do not go to extremes regarding your faith. Say nothing about Allah except the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was no more than a messenger of Allah and the fulfillment of his word through Mary and a spirit, created by a command from him. So believe in Allah and his messengers and do not say Trinity. Stop for your own good. Allah is only one God. Glory be to him. He is far above having a son. To him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. And Allah is sufficient as a trustee of affairs." And there's two footnotes to that. The first one is when it says, "Say nothing about Allah except the truth." It says, footnote 1, the Jews are warned against denying that Jesus is the Messiah, while Christians are warned against calling Jesus Allah. And then footnote 2 is a word through Mary and a spirit created by a command from him. Is Jesus was created by Allah's word, be, and he was. And life was breathed into Jesus by in Hebrew it would be Ruach HaKodesh. It says the Holy Spirit, and that in Aramaic is, I think it's similar, Ruach al-Kodos. They consider that is the angel Gabriel at the command of Allah. So obviously that's there's a lot of controversy there between Islam's views and Christianity's views. However, I mean, when I started to look into it, I came across some really wonderful stuff. First of all, I started looking at, I started lining out all the places where this is the Quran, where there's the word oneness is used, and I learned a lot about that because certainly from Jewish, when you come in to understand a word in the Torah from a Jewish perspective, you go and look at the first times it's in the book, and from there you have a fuller understanding of the word. So very interesting. The first 3 times it came up, I think the Arabic is like wahid. In Hebrew, it's the concept of oneness is ahad, which is connected to that word. But you've also got another aspect to oneness that's very similar. It's certainly rooted in this word. It's what's called the yechida. And the yechida is the level of, according to what the sages say, the level of the Messiah, son of Joseph's soul. So he's called the yechida. This is the highest level of soul possible. And because of this highest level of soul possible, then people who have had an experience, a spiritual experience or a revelation of that level of soul, it's very difficult to discern the difference between that level of soul that is the Messiah, son of Joseph, i.e. Jesus, Yeshua, and God himself. So that's where a lot of the problems come, because people haven't experienced the actual spirit of the Messiah, of Yeshua. So when saying Jesus is God, it can be misunderstood, because he's got this level of spirit, he's got this level of soul that no other human had. This is all secret teaching, is what I'm telling you now. It's not what you would learn just from going to church on a Sunday. This is what you learn from the Jewish people. The Jewish people don't apply this to Yeshua. They apply it to a concept called Messiah, son of Joseph. But Yeshua was the Messiah, son of Joseph. So you've got to put the two religions together to understand exactly what's going on. So from a Jewish point of view, understanding the Messiah, the Messiah, son of Joseph, who is Jesus, his level of soul came from the part of Adam's soul that never fell. It never ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It was what crown. He'd not got his crown before he ate from the tree of knowledge. So when Adam fell, 4 levels of his soul fell into this state of separation from the Garden of Eden. So only 4 of his souls fell. 1 didn't fall, what's called the yechida. And this is rooted in the word oneness. And at this level of soul, it's not absolutely one with God. But at that level of soul, it's so high and pure. And this is why they say Jesus had no sin. He had not got and all of us are part of Adam's soul that fell. Every single human being has got an aspect of Adam's soul that fell. We're in a fallen state. There's people who are at much higher levels of soul, but still we are part of the soul of Adam that fell. Yeshua is the only human being that wasn't. So when we have an experience of that level of soul, we're experiencing a part of Adam's soul that never fell. And also it goes back to it being one with being one with God, being one with, I say Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, which is the letters of the Tetragrammaton, Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. So this level of soul, to us that are fallen, we can't perceive that there's a subtle difference. We're not able to perceive the difference between experiencing the Mashiach of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, the Mashiach of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh and Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh himself. So this is where you get in Christianity, Jesus is God, and Jesus, because you've got, and you're experiencing the most highest level of soul possible. And not only that, Yeshua revealed the highest level of name possible. And he said, I am one with the Father. He is one with that revelation of name, which is telling the truth, because at that level of crown, the soul of the Yechida, the soul level of Yeshua, this highest level of Adam that never fell, is one with the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. So that's why you get a difference. That's why you get misunderstanding.
It kind of
Yeah,
reminds me a little bit of um of looking at something close up versus looking at something from far away. Like if you look at something close up, you can see the differences and the contrast between the two things. But if you zoom out, then it kind of becomes one thing, like the world or something. And you can't, I guess, like I'm kind of associating being high up with being far away. So when you're at those high levels, then um, unity and oneness is more, I don't know, obvious than when you're at like lower levels or something like that.
yeah, definitely. There's also a big misunderstanding as to what oneness is according to the Torah, because
Yeah.
there's what's called oneness, and then there's what's called unity of being. And really, the oneness that's talked about from a Torah perspective, and certainly what Jesus would have said when he said, I am one with the Father, this is the oneness that he was meaning for definite, is really meaning not that everything is one. Is what the when he says I am one with the Father, he's saying there is only one power, there is only one authority, there is only one sovereignty, there is only one will, and I am one with that. I am not acting against that one power, that one sovereignty, that one name, that one will. I am fully in that, and that is fully in me. So he's not saying that he's one thing with him. He's saying that he's not acting in his own capacity to do something for himself to fulfill his own personal will. He is completely surrendered to the will of the Father, even to the point of death. So
Mm.
he is with the Father in that he's not acting in any way against that authority, sovereignty, majesty, power of his name, and and his will, the will of the Father. So sometimes there is like a concept of unity of being, but that's not what Yeshua was declaring. He wasn't saying he is one in terms of just one substance or thing. He was talking in terms of the power of the Father is what he was fully subjected and one with. So that there is a slight difference sometimes, because I know when I've been studying unity of being in Islam before, I've thought to myself that is not exactly the truth regarding what oneness is understood from a Torah perspective. And certainly when I've looked
Mm.
at the Trinity myself, um, the Trinity is to be understood. There is a Father, Son, and a Ruach HaKodesh. It's really saying they are absolutely one power. There is a little bit more to it than that, because this oneness generally, and one big question would be: is this oneness created or uncreated? and the line gets blurred because that soul level of Yeshua that was so high and one with Yahweh, one with the Father, came down into a human being. It's obviously a created being then. But where do you say that power or what's operating, the force that's operating within him? Where is that? Where is that a created thing? How is it distinct from that that's not created?
Hmm.
That's where lines blur a little bit. Where does the creator and the created, where does the line get drawn?
I
Do you
think,
understand?
yeah, no, in my mind, it's the starting point. So like anything that's created has a starting point, and the
Yeah,
creator is like infinite. And
yeah,
that's kind of my thoughts around that.
yeah. But if you are only were if you were like just a vessel and that was uncreated is just operating through you completely, you're completely surrendered to that, um, you know, even though Yeshua was created as a man, there's something operating with him. His life force within him is part of that that's uncreated, if you like, that
Sure.
one that's uncreated. It certainly is soul level. It's not possible for us to make that distinction as fallen humans, definitely not, because it's such a very subtle difference between the name of Yod He Wawhe and the Mashiach of Yod He Wawhe, the Messiah of Yod He Wawhe, the one who came in the full name of Yod He Wawhe, you know?
Yeah. And one model that the Baha'is like to talk about is this idea of like a mirror and a light, or the
Yeah,
sun or something. So the sun kind of represents God, and the mirror represents like the manifestation of God or Jesus or the Messiah. And um, when we say like when Jesus says, I'm in the Father and the Father is in me, if you think of it in terms of like a mirror, like the mirror can be in the sunlight and the sun can be seen in the mirror as well. So if you look at the mirror, you're like, oh, that's God, but you're looking at a reflection of God. So it's not quite God. It's not quite, but yeah, I mean, you could maybe get away with calling him God because yeah, it's the sun. The sun is in the mirror.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, he has come from a very high spirit. I have heard that analogy before. That is actually when he comes again, the he's likened to the sun the first time. I mean, God's even greater than the sun, if you like.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
the moon, when he comes again as Mashiach ben David, for example, is at a lower level. His soul comes in at a lower level. Um, because he'll have already accomplished what he needed to accomplish at that high level as the Messiah, which is to redeem the lost house of Israel from all the places to which it's been exiled, primarily, and others beside. So once that's accomplished, he doesn't need to come in at that level because he's got to go in. One of his work is to take over the entire governance of the earth, to establish the kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven. And at this time, this is according to Torah, there's 70 nations, and they are not headed up. The only nation headed up directly by God Himself is Israel. This is a bit. There's lots of people that are actually part of Israel that don't even know it.
And
These
this,
what
when you say Israel, is that defined as like the people of Israel or the believers of God, or how is Israel defined?
you've got a lot of replacement theology going on. So you've got Israel, the true children of Israel are scattered throughout the entire earth, and a lot of people don't even know that they are the children of Israel. this is the big problem. This is why Yeshua came to come after those who were lost of the house of Israel. The tribes got scattered thousands of years ago. The Jewish people got scattered a lot later. So what happened is there were 12 tribes of Israel. 10 went into the northern part of Israel, and then there was a split between what was called the house of Joseph, the northern tribes of Israel, 10 tribes of Israel, and then the two main tribes. There's three in total. There's the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and the tribe of Levi all stuck together. So the 10 tribes went off, and they got taken into exile a lot quicker, a lot sooner than the Jewish people got split. The people that call themselves Israel at this time are primarily from the tribe of Judah, from the tribe of Benjamin, and from the tribe of Levi. So there's only 2 of the 12 tribes, if you like. Levi is not counted as the 12. It's Joseph's 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So there's really 13 tribes in total. So where are the other 10 tribes? They got scattered throughout all the earth. I've been to Israel and spoke to rabbis about this many times that are interested in regathering the lost house of Israel. So I've spoken to a rabbi called, well, I won't mention his name, but I've spoken to him. I've got his book. I don't say that I follow everything. And there's another very famous rabbi called Yair Davidai. So the tribes of Israel got scattered all over. Now, some of those maintained their identity. Do you know the Pashtun tribe? The Muslim people, the Pashtun tribe, it's a massive tribe in Kashmir. They identify themselves as the children of Israel. The Taliban in Afghanistan, they identified themselves as the children of Israel. Not only that, a top Grammy awarded Jewish journalist went into Afghanistan, and he went into the Taliban villages, and they found huge stones hidden there, and all secretly hidden. And what had they written on? They'd got written on Aramaic. And they were saying, we are Bani Musa, we're the children of Musa. They knew who they were, the Taliban. So you've got the lost house of Israel. There's 70 nations, and the Jewish sages say that the 70 nations got split into 2 parts: 35 under Esau, which is Edom, which is Roman dominion, Christianity, Europe, and 35 that was under Ishmaelite controlled lands, which is the Arab lands, that's primarily under Islam. So you've got 70 nations in total, split into Edom and Ishmael. And Yeshua had to come, and under all those nations, they all have their own sons of God. This is the term mentioned in the Bible. The sons of God rule over the nations. So they don't go directly to God. They've got like an angel over them. They've got a guardian angel over each of the 70 nations. And the nations have got to go through the guardian angel that then goes indirectly to God. Israel have got direct access to God, unless they're sinners and they come under other divine authorities, like the prince of this world, for example. So the role of Yeshua was not just to win, save people, this lost house of Israel that was scattered primarily in. He went to primarily those that were scattered into under Roman dominion lands through Christianity, because Yeshua revealed a much higher level of the holy name. I've just pulled out some incredible sources. Even Islam knows about this. The commentators in Islam know about this. I've just pulled out some phenomenal commentary on it. Yeshua represented a level of the holy name that was the most merciful level of revelation of his name. Why did he have to reveal that? Because the lost house of Israel, trapped in Rome, Roman dominated lands, had sinned the most. They'd fallen to the greatest level of depravity. They needed the highest level. So when Yeshua came through Christianity, he actually came representing the highest level of mercy that's ever been revealed, the highest power of God's name that's ever been revealed. It was what is called the name at the level of the crown. His soul came from the level of the crown of the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. So this is mercy without merit. With the mercy that was revealed to Moshe on Mount Sinai, it was mercy to whom I be merciful to, and favour to whom I show favour to. But with this level of name, he showed the mercy is available to all, and there's no merit even needed. Literally, you can be a murderer. This name has been revealed. The truth about Yeshua, he's gone in and saved souls from the most depraved. He's saved slave, people who was captains on slave ships. The famous song, Amazing Grace, was written by a slave master who was actually on a slave ship, and he was actually in a storm trying to get his way through the storm, and he called out to God, and God saved him. This is a level of mercy that he shouldn't have been afforded it, because he was a wicked, disgusting man. But he was shown grace through this power of this name at the level as revealed to Yeshua. So I just want to read one of them. This is a little bit of AI Google, but then I asked them what the actual quotes were. So a lot of them have gone to actual Islamic sites, but when I've come across things that I've thought, I wonder where the source is for that, I've had to try and search some stuff out by myself. But even in Islam, they recognize there's something special about Yeshua just from that one verse, because it says that he was made by the word of God and his spirit. So no other human has got these qualifications. And then when you research it even further, what spirit, what word, it says according to the scholars, the word was the word be. But in Hebrew, that word be is the tetragrammaton. The tetragrammaton means to be. So Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Jehovah, Jehovah, however people pronounce it, that word it's a verb. It means to be. So really, the Islamic scholars are saying he was made in the name of Yahweh. And here, there's other Islamic teachings, and that was the word. Not only that, when they went up Mount Sinai, they smashed the first set of tablets with the commandments written on, the first Torah, and then they got the second Torah. The first Torah was more holy, because it says in the God carved out the stones and God wrote on those stones. The second one, he says, Moshe, you go bring me the stones. So the level of holiness included man was then involved in the writing of the Torah. Man's hands was also involved. There was a lesser holiness. It wasn't just God. It was God and man to produce this second set of stones. And so this is the blueprint for all scripture from then on. We don't receive these magical scriptures that come directly from God and are written on a stone by the finger of God. We get God speaking to men who then write words down on his behalf. It's a lesser holiness. The sages say that those original stones were simply a revelation of his holy names. These were just his holy names. And us knowing those names was enough to conform us to him. Just knowing the truth of his holy names. But you see, we had to have that veiled from us because we did the sin of the golden calf. We wasn't ready for that level of holiness. We'd just come out of Egypt. We were used to eat. We were used to the gods of Egypt, the ritual of Egypt, the food of Egypt. That's why we're complaining about it. So we needed to have a lesser holiness through the Torah, and the names were hidden. So the letter of the Torah hid the holy names. Yeshua came along and he's a living revelation of a holy name of Yahweh. Not only a holy name, but the highest level of holy name. So I'm going to read you now what the Muslim scholars say, because this is very interesting, because this actually aligns with the truth. He was an extraordinary human being, but he was the salvation. Yeshua means salvation of Yod-Heh-Waw himself. He was the chosen one, the anointed one. Messiah means anointed. He was anointed with the power of God to go in and save souls from literally hell on earth. And that's what has been happening for 2,000 years. This is what the Islamic scholar says just about this one thing I've talked about. It says diverse interpretations. While the identification with Gabriel is most common, this is talking about his spirit that made Yeshua. He wasn't made by man. He was made by the spirit of Yahweh, the spirit of God. It says, while the identification with Gabriel is most common, some Muslim scholars have suggested other interpretations, such as a hidden force. The spirit of Jesus is the Holy Yechidah that is one with Yahweh at that level of crown. The spirit of Jesus, or even the exalted name of God by which Jesus performed miracles. Certain Shia interpretations may also view the spirit as a separate entity from Gabriel, a being from a world of God's command. And then I asked, well, where is this tradition come from? If anybody wanted to look at it themselves, it says in Islamic tradition, Al-Isam al-Azam is believed to be a secret name of God, so powerful that any prayer made using it is immediately granted. Linking this to the Holy Spirit mentioned in the Quran, Surah 287, this is talking about Yeshua, suggests that the support God gave to Jesus was the direct empowerment of his divine name. In Islamic theology, the interpretation of Ruach al-Qudus, the Holy Spirit, is the exalted name of God, Al-Isam al-Azam. Used by Yeshua, Jesus, to perform miracles, is a view cited by the classical Persian commentator Al-Baydawi, and that's from, he died in 1286 AD. So these are very ancient Quranic commentaries. He says the power behind miracles. While the majority of scholars identify Ruach al-Qudus as the Archangel Gabriel, Al-Badawi notes in his famous commentary, Anwar al-Tanzil, that some believe it refers to the greatest name of God. And that is exactly what he did reveal. He revealed the name of Yod-Heh-Waw above the letter of the Torah, and that means because it's not restricted to the letter of the Torah. So, for example, the letter of the Torah, if you do this, you'll be shown favor, and if you don't, you'll be punished. These people, even though they'd done despicable evil, they were shown mercy. They didn't even need any goodness in them. They were total wretches. They were the most wicked people ever. But the power of this name was to remind them, yes, you fell, you was part of Adam that fell the furthest into the dirt. But you see the power of Adam's soul, Yeshua, that had never sinned, had never fallen, revealed a name of God to that fallen person that lifted them back up to be servants of God from the most disgusting places of hell on earth. So there is, even if you look at it from an Islamic point of view, they're indicating this. Even though they say that there's, they've got their own way of understanding, Yeshua in relation to Allah. When you look at it from all the angles together, you can see there's actually quite a unity of opinion. It's just without all the different perspectives, without looking at it from all the different perspectives that allow you to question what might be wrong, but to also glean what is true from all these different perspectives, you don't get the whole picture, you know?
Yeah. What was Al-Azim Al-Azam? What does that mean again?
Exalted name of God. I don't know how to say, I don't speak Arabic, but it's
Yeah.
transliterated. So it says Al-Isim Al-Azam. That's what it says, exalted name of God. And this is from Al-Badawi.
Okay. Okay.
In his commentary, Anwar al-Tanzil.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was just one thing I came across. I mean, there were
Yeah,
loads
very
of stuff.
sorry. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I appreciate that uh reflection and like how it I did find I find the whole idea of names interesting and how um like all the Quran verses they start with Bismillah Rahmanir Rahim, which is like in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. And so there is something like interesting about this idea of the name of God. I don't know. I think it may have to do with like who God is kind of thing. And like there's this kind of concept in in the Baha'i faith where God is like an unknowable essence, and we're just kind of trying to get to know him more and more. Our purpose is to know and worship him. And so, yeah, we can maybe know him more through his names and stuff like that. And so, um, Jesus's name is a lot like Yeshua or Jehovah or whatever, the Tetragrammaton. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's kind of it's interesting how the names and the meanings of the names have such a significant impact on, I don't know, reality or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's very, very powerful. And it's understanding the different names. Like you're talking about that infant essence. The infant essence is veiled. You know, the power of that holiness is veiled to us. We're living in a veiled reality in a fallen state. We've got to elevate ourselves up to try and get back to the place where we fell from. And we can only do that with true knowledge of God. When we fell and ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, what happened is our knowledge of God, and this is what is in the secret esoteric teachings in Judaism. This is not Christianity, but it actually applies to Christianity because this one who saved us from our fallen state is Yeshua in a lot of ways. Certainly for the lost house of Israel in Edomite, Roman dominated lands. I believe that God has used Islam to redeem a lot of the lost house of Israel from Ishmaelite dominated lands and also to sanctify the nations. The role of Islam is to sanctify the nations, to bring up all peoples throughout all humanity to a place of holiness, and that's what it has accomplished. But going back to the names reveal what can't be revealed to us. They allow us to gain our knowledge that was fallen back. But there's different names. There's different names veil that infinite essence to a lesser and greater extent. So, for example, Elohim is according to in Judaism, there's 120 veils around the name of Elohim.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you've got to go higher and higher to get back. We will never fully have revealed to us the entirety of God's infinite essence, his perfect infinite essence. We can't possibly have revealed to us the infinite essence of his wisdom. It's totally unknowable to us. But his will is not to reveal that to us. The part of the God, according to what the sages say, that he desires to reveal to us is not all his infinite perfect essence. There's just one aspect of his infinite perfect essence that he wants to make known to us to restore our knowledge of him. So, like you say, going back to when Adam ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge, it says, was in our what's called our Golgotha, our skull.
Oh,
Okay. So knowledge fell from our skull down into our flesh. It had two crowns on it. The crowns were supposed to be on top of each other. It's all symbolic. It's not literal what I'm talking. It's all like a symbolic. So the knowledge is supposed to be at the forefront of our minds. It fell down into our flesh. So our knowledge has fallen. Our true knowledge of God has fallen down into a lower level. And then the crowns of it, which should have been loving kindness and Gevurah, which is might and holy discipline, where you get the angel Gabriel from. So you've got Chesed, which is loving kindness on the right hand, and Gevurah, might and holy discipline on the left, should have been on top of our knowledge of Yahweh. They fell into the right and left. So that's when we've got a lot of double-mindedness, schizophrenia. We know one thing, we do another. We know what we should do, we do another. We talk double face. We've got all these problems because we're in a fallen state where we see things this way and then we see it that way, and we don't know which direction to go. It's an ever-revolving sword. So the knowledge that fell down into our flesh is really knowledge of God, true knowledge of God. But the knowledge that he wants to bestow upon us is his oneness. This is what we've lost the capacity to perceive this oneness. We know it, but we don't. So what we've got to go through a process of rectifying this fallen knowledge and raising it up from our flesh back to the place where it should go, which is at the forefront of our mind. Yeshua, the cross was at Golgotha. The Golgotha means skull. And I don't know if you've ever seen in Egypt, what have they got there? You should have the knowledge of God. But in Egypt, when in a fallen state, we're in exile, instead of having true knowledge of God, we take on like what the pharaohs had. They had a raised cobra at the front of their head. So we have false knowledge where we should have true knowledge. Good news, the Gospels, the purpose of them was to reveal that holy exalted name, to try and drag us out from the places that we'd fallen, where we had no merit according to the Torah because we were complete sinners. We'd cut ourselves off from God completely. We'd lost our identity. We were just sold out slaves to the nations. We were suffering. And then the good news came. The good news in Hebrew is called Basaroth Tovoth. It means the good news, but that word Basaroth is the same root as the word for flesh. So it's to bring that knowledge of God from the place in our flesh back up to the place where we know God, where we've got
Interesting.
knowledge of God. The
Hmm.
problem now is, you see the truth about Yeshua, it's got kidnapped by religion. So you've got then false doctrines, if you like. It's basically been kidnapped by Rome. There's a reason why it had to be, because in this world, God will never override the free will of man. So he will never override the free will of man. And there's a reason for this, because when he reveals that he is all powerful, there's only him, only his will, only his oneness. He wants to reveal this to us. He wants to show his perfect essence to us, a part of it, that oneness. But he wants us to earn it. He don't just want to be like giving us it like an empty credit card, go spend what you want. He wants us to strive and help fight ourselves back to have that revealed, and why there's all this. And the one way that is he has to maintain free will choice so that we ultimately choose him. We fight off the desire to choose evil and ultimately choose him, and then we will be worthy to receive that revelation of oneness. So when he sent his revelation of this most exalted name into the world through Yeshua, who he had no human father, he was born. Anyway, the son. I'll talk about how it can be understood as the son. When he sent his son Yeshua to us, this is to help us gain back that knowledge. But when he sent something so bright into the world, he had to send the equal level of darkness to maintain free choice. This is why you've got so many lies surrounding Christianity. This is why it ended up getting dressed up in a lot of pagan rituals. Because God didn't want to say, right, here I am. Now you've no free choice because I'm just going to shine this bright big light and you can't ignore it. He made it difficult to access that truth even. So this is the same with everything. He has to maintain free choice so that we will have the opportunity to work to restore that knowledge back to its place. We fell, and we have to work to get that true knowledge back into its rightful place. And we've got to work very, very hard to reveal true oneness, because this truth doesn't get revealed easily. You can't just go find, oh, this is the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth. It gets hidden a tiny little bit here, a tiny little bit there, and you've got to rummage with all these lies of Satan and all these false doctrines. You've got to get involved with false religion. You get caught up in all the different false religions. I was part of Christianity, I did it all. I was part of Judaism, I did it all, the whole shebang. But there
Hmm.
was a truth in it, but then there was a lot. Is this what I should be doing? Is this true knowledge of God? And you have to accept the truth, but then you've got to let go and say, maybe not, you know. And that can be quite lonely because we all want to cling together. We all want to feel that we belong, but we're not just here to put up with what we know isn't the right thing to be doing, or it's not the truth. So it's a wrestle. We've got to wrestle against all these forces of darkness that come into the world only because God has brought light into the world. You know,
Yeah,
so you
I
can't
think a
have one.
very I think a very tangible example of this that I've kind of or seen, noticed, observed is the arguments between Muslims and Christians where they're talking about Jesus being God or Jesus not having a father or something. And I mean, the way they'll argue with each other is like it's kind of like that's probably more upsetting to me than what they're saying about um like
Yeah, and
what they're saying about Jesus or God or whatever. So like sometimes knowledge can actually lead to disunity, I think, knowledge of
The,
God. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Like, why would knowing God more lead to disagreements or something like that? Or, yeah, I don't know if that's phrased very well.
I honestly think because well, the way that I understand it is all the three major um, Abrahamic faiths. There's what's called you see this serpent in
Yeah.
Judaism. They call it it's a three-headed serpent. Okay, so there's the three heads of the main serpent, the lion serpent.
Hmm.
One of them's called the Edomite head. One is the Erev Rav head. The Edomite head is all the darkness, all the lies, all the false knowledge, all the anti-Messiah, if you like, the
Hmm.
anti-Messiah force of Christianity. So I'm not saying Christianity is anti-Messiah, but I'm saying all the lies around the truth about Yeshua, the truth about um, the oneness and the unity. And then you've got which is it's not according to the Jewish sages, this is like the stalk of wheat. It's very easy to spot the errors in Christianity. It's just like pulling the wheat the stalk away from the grain. It's not a difficult job to remove, you know. And
Hmm.
then there's what's called the clipper, the outer evil husk of Islam. In Judaism is called the clipper, the husk, the shell that is surrounding Islam. The light and the truth in Islam is surrounded by an evil outer husk. And this is likened to the chaff. It's very easy to remove the chaff, but it's harder than to remove the stalk. So it's hard to get rid of the evil, the lies, the satanic influence from Islam than it is from Christianity to separate truth and light. But when it comes to Judaism, called the Erev Rav, these were this Erev Rav influence, and the Erev Rav is the mixed multitude that came out of Egypt with the children of Israel. This influence has been so long in Judaism that it's all the way through. It's like the bran. It gets ground up with the flour. You've got to sift and sift and sift to get rid of it. So the influence of the Erev Rav is much more difficult to remove from Judaism because it's just part of the actual flour itself. It's the very thin bran that gets ground up with the flour.
Hmm.
So this is why there's a lot of confrontation, because you see these evil husks, these lies that we've all inherited. The Bible says you have inherited lies, and you've got to, if you see a lie in another person, the chances are that lies in you in a different way. This is why we need to go through circumcision. We need to go through circumcising our hearts. We need to humble ourselves, because all those lies will puff you up to be arrogant or prideful or hateful or jealous or vengeful, or there will be a negative aspect to this. Rather than it creating knowledge of God, it will puff up the power of our own flesh, which is likened in a way to a Satan. I mean, Satan ain't just outside, is within us. Is part of we were made, we can choose evil or choose good. We've got to learn how to control that. We've got to circumcise our hearts. There's 5 aspects to circumcision. You've got to circumcise your lips. You should only speak the truth. Okay, so if you're just used to lying all the time, even to each other, you're going to have problems, because God is truth. He's a
Uh-huh.
God of
Definitely.
truth. So you're never going to know him unless you know how important it is to be truthful to yourself, to others, and to reject lies. Even if nobody else You're a part of a big organization and a religion that's accepting them as the truth. If you know that they're not the truth, like, we shouldn't really be doing that because it's not even properly written. You'll stand on your own a lot when you do the truth, but you're better off because God is truth. You want to know God, you've got to be truthful. So we've got to speak the truth from our lips, and we've not got to speak profanities. We've not got to speak rubbish. We've got to be speaking things that are edifying. So that's one of the circumcisions. We've got to circumcise our understanding. It says in Jeremiah, we circumcise our ears, but our ears represent listening, the power to shema, to hear the truth regarding God. We can be hearing a lot of other rubbish. It's not just to hear, it's actually to take the effort to understand what you hear. And then we've got circumcised hearts. God says circumcise your heart, but then he also says, I will circumcise your heart. We got to humble ourselves by doing things that humble us, like being kind to people, clothing the naked, feeding the hungry, giving water to the thirsty, visiting the prisoner, visiting the sick, being kind to the orphan and the widow and those less fortunate. This humbles your heart, and the truth humbles you. The truth humbles you. You got to go, and if you don't feel like your heart's circumcised enough, you got to pray for it. Please, Father, help me circumcise my heart. Loving. You got to have a heart that's able to love. And then you've obviously got circumcision of your anatomy for a male. Don't need to go into any details there. People will know what I'm talking about. And then there's also circumcision. In the Torah, it mentions the circumcision of the trees. You're not allowed to eat from the fruit of the trees until they have got to a certain level of maturity. And this can be like our own lives. We've got to allow ourselves to mature. We can't just keep being immature fruit. It's like we've not been circumcised. We've got to proceed to a level of maturity all the time. And not be too, if we know we're not at a mature enough place, don't eat the fruit that you're producing. Wait until you get to that mature place, and especially when it comes to fruits that you're offering to other people. Make sure you're not offering them bitter fruits, and also the way that we even interpret our own experience in life. We can have a very immature understanding, or we can take a step back or whatever and have a much more mature understanding. So there are the 5 aspects of circumcision. When we go through that, we should be mature enough then to be able to cope with people who have differences of opinions and maybe see what truth they are, or what they are saying, or interpret it in a way that is respectful rather than arrogant and prideful and contentious and things like that. That's what I try and do. I honestly was filled with joy looking at the Quran, and this verse is a verse that I should have been running away from, calling him, oh, that's a false prophet. But I wasn't, because I just know that I know God enough to know he's used Islam in powerful, powerful, wonderful ways.
Oh, wow,
So
yeah.
saying they're wrong, I think to myself, listen, search it out. What can you get out of this, Stephanie? Believe they've been inspired by the same spirit of truth that's inspired you in your life, and check it out from that perspective. And you know what? I got a lot of joy out of it. I got a lot of learning and having my mind think and good thoughts when I were reading it, because I get very excited thinking about people of different faiths coming together in unity. Because I'm looking out in the world at this time thinking, how has it got that bad that people are so hateful of each other, so destructive, so violent? I'm thinking, I've got to be this somehow a solution to that problem that I see. And I was so blessed. I can't even tell you how blessed I was just from reading and studying. I studied it in depth. I thought about it. I shared it with my friends over in Israel, a lot of what I came across, and that brought me pleasure because none of us have got the whole picture. We've got to learn from each other. If we want to truly know God, then we've got to know what God was doing in that person's life, as well as our own lives. That's restoring knowledge of God.
Yeah, when you were talking about the tribes and stuff, it makes me think about how humanity kind of fractures and splits apart, but God really wants us to come together and work together and be as one, you know? Speaking of oneness.
I think, do you know what? I really believe, do you know why I think he scattered the children of Israel into all the
Why?
four corners of the world?
Mm,
Because there's a blessing for the children of Israel. There is a unique blessing. But I honestly believe at this time that everybody nearly in all of humanity will have some of that seed within them. Because it's been 2,000 years and they've gone to every four corners of the earth. And
mhm,
if you study demographics and see how people mix up in a very short period of time, 1 or 2 generations, you're thinking going back, so many generations, we're all mixed up. We've all got some of the seed of Israel within us.
mhm,
Even that fact's very unifying to me. And the fact is that God has worked so hard to um, to redeem and save the lost house of Israel, as well as the nations. He has saved the nations, he's been very gracious to the nations, but it just goes to show to me he wants unity for all humanity. The
mm,
fact, why did he scatter his beloved children to the far corners of the world? Because he had
mhm,
a plan. He knew eventually he had a plan to get them all back, and they weren't coming back empty handed. They're coming back with all the other people that they're now part of that group and society and family, and they're bringing it all back. So, as much as we see on the surface all this hate and division, the more knowledge you have of the oneness of God, the more you see him working secretly to bring us all together,
mm.
you know,
Yeah,
he's just see his plan, how it's etching out, and you think he's definitely he's wanting unity, and the more that we'll get on board with his vision for humanity, we'll all be better off.
agreed. Do you want me to read a little quote from the Guardian from the Baha'i Faith, aka Shoghi Effendi, on the
Yeah,
oneness of mankind? So it's not quite the oneness of God, but the oneness of mankind. So
definitely, yeah.
yeah, I feel like it's really good. He like really emphasizes oneness and relates it to a lot of key aspects of our society.
Yeah.
So he says, let there be no mistake. The principle of the oneness of mankind, the pivot round which all the teachings of Baha'u'llah revolve, is no mere outburst of ignorant emotionalism or an expression of vague and pious hope. Its appeal is not to be merely identified with a reawakening of the spirit of brotherhood and goodwill among men, nor does it aim solely at fostering harmonious cooperation among individual peoples and nations. Its implications are deeper, its claims greater than any which the prophets of old were allowed to advance. Its message is applicable not only to the individual, but concerns itself primarily with the nature of those essential relationships that must bind all the states and nations as members of one human family. It does not constitute merely the enunciation of an ideal, but stands inseparably associated with an institution adequate to embody its truth. demonstrate its validity, and perpetuate its influence. It implies an organic change in the structure of present-day society, a change such as the world has not yet experienced. It constitutes a challenge, at once bold and universal, to outworn shibboleths of national creeds, creeds that have had their day, and which must, in the ordinary course of events as shaped and controlled by Providence, give way to a new gospel, fundamentally different from and infinitely superior to what the world has already conceived.
Yeah.
It calls for no less than the reconstruction and the demilitarization of the whole civilized world, a world organically unified in all the essential aspects of its life, its political machinery, its spiritual aspiration, its trade and finance, its script and language, and yet infinite in the diversity of the national characteristics of its federated units. And then I'll go on to another paragraph. The principle of the oneness of mankind, as proclaimed by Baha'u'llah, carries with it no more and no less than a solemn assertion that the attainment to this final stage in the stupendous evolution is not only necessary but inevitable, that its realization is fast approaching, and that nothing short of a power that is born of God can succeed in establishing it.
Very true. Especially like the part where it talks about demilitarization, because that is just. It says that King David, Messiah ben David, Yeshua, when he comes back, he says he will defeat the kingdom of Rome, which are warmongers. We got
Yeah,
warmongers in control at the moment, sadly, and we brainwashed into thinking that weapons are going to solve all our problems. They definitely won't. It says Messiah ben David will come and establish the kingdom of heaven on earth without ever firing a single bullet, and it will be by the power of truth that he speaks. This is what will establish the kingdom of God, not weapons. So that's worth noticing. I wanted to read, this is what I want, based on what you've just said, the soul of the Mashiach, the Yechida, what I was talking about, the part of Adam's soul that never fell, this is the level of soul that we need to attach to, because this has got the power to unify. It means Yechida. Not only does it mean like only begotten son, but it also means it's oneness, only oneness. It comes from Yachad,
mm,
oneness. There's some really interesting stuff in this concept of Yechida, because this is the soul level of Mashiach. Let me just try and find it. It's called the Yechida effect. It says permanent redemption. These are what I've drawn from different sources, by the way. It says the permanent redemption is by means of Mashiach revealing the Yechida within the world. The Yechida is also associated with that exalted high name. He will not arrive as a foreign influence trying to make the world conform to ideals. Instead, his Yechida effect will allow for the self-centered reality of our world to experience the greater unity with God, while feeling, this is my voice and this is what I am about. True peace. The era of redemption is known as a time of peace. Not only will all war cease, but moreover, true harmony will exist through the world. Incidentally, this too relates to the Yechida effect. In common perception, peace is not earned without a struggle. Over the course of history, countless debates and battles were fought in the name of peace. True peace, however, cannot be won in battle. It must be won with peace. This is because peace is not about subduing the opponent or intimidating the enemy. It is about finding a deeper purpose that can align all sides to work harmoniously toward one common goal. The pursuit of peace is almost as old as existence itself, yet this ideal of peaceful peace was never accomplished. This is not out of preference, it is due to resort. No unifying purpose has yet been realized that would not require at least one side to surrender. For millennia, peace has remained superficial, being more of a truce than true harmony. True peace will finally be realized by Mashiach, Messiah, because of his virtue as a macro Yechida. The Yechida does not simply present a single ultimate truth, expecting compliance. Rather, its permeating truth resonates with all of our world's diverse components. Mashiach is titled the Man of Peace because he will allow the peace the world is so because he will allow the peace the world is so eagerly awaiting for, and that is from a Jewish site called Chabad.org. This whole concept of the Messiah within the Jewish faith is understood to be this Yechida. They just don't acknowledge that the Yechida has come. The Yechida has come. His name is Yeshua. But for some reason they have a blindness on them. It speaks about this blindness and why they've been blinded. It's for the whole of humanity's benefit. But when their eyes will be opened, which will be soon, all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that they've been gathering up for all this millennia will all fit together. But we are living in incredible times, really, when all these things are being revealed, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely feeling like a time of transition of like just massive change.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think, yeah, I mean, some of it looks on the surface like some pretty horrific um, global hatreds are being aroused. But I always remember I didn't come to a faith in God till 2001.
Mm,
And whenever you see the most horrendous things happen in the world, God is working in a hidden way behind all that. You know, I know for a fact he is. Because when I looked at the Twin Towers going down, I was 6 months pregnant at the time, 6 months pregnant with my second child. And I saw the towers come down, and I really knew the world had changed at that point. I knew obviously there's a lot of conspiracies around it now. I don't 100% know what the truth is. I'm sure it's not what we've been told, but even so, to think that something like that, whatever evil caused that, was revealed at that point. Yeah, I know I'm not the only one. This was a massive turnaround for me spiritually because it made me think about the world that this child that I was carrying in my belly was going to be born into. And then I ended up having a very profound born again experience whilst I was in the hospital giving birth to my daughter a couple of months later, in November that year, 2001.
mm,
When we're seeing all these horrible things happening in the world, God is waking others up. It's like, when these politicians and stuff bury news when bad stuff happens, they'll push these radical policies through, like during COVID or any major disaster, they're just pushing the stuff they don't want anybody to pay attention to. Uh, Making laws and stuff like that, whilst everybody's distracted watching the latest disaster. But
mm.
but God works in a very similar way. You see, when you see disasters
He
on the
works like a
outside,
politician.
he's using this as a cover. Right, I'm going to send my angels in there and there and there, and that's what
Mm,
I felt. I thought that the worst thing I'd ever seen in my life was that. And then out of it, I became a born again believer and started a journey of faith that
wow.
I'm still now. So when we're seeing all these things, there'll be people quietly thinking this can't be right, and searching and crying out to God. And it's like COVID, that were a big turning point for a lot of people as well. All these people dying and afraid and all around the globe. Yeah, it was a massive spiritual turning point for a lot of people. So when we're seeing things happening out there that look horrific, God will be working. he'll be using that for good, you know.
Yeah, it
So
seems like there's cycles of crisis and victory. And so with every crisis, there's like a loading up of some sort of victory after that. And with every victory, there's some sort of crisis along the corner or something.
you got to sometimes search it out, you know. You
Hmm.
got to search it out. And sometimes it's our job to turn darkness into light and evil into good. You know, we're not just to settle for it. We've got to actually do something about transforming and not allowing this to define us. Saying, no, I am not going to be defined by this darkness. I know there's a power in this world that's better than this, that can overcome this. Like you said, that can get the victory and press in until you get it.
Yeah, definitely. I think like one of the from the reading of the oneness of mankind, one of the big things that's going to change, I think, is this idea of institutions and how institutions, I'd say right now, institutions don't really take into account the oneness of mankind. Institutions are kind of like have more of an us and them mentality where you have like customers and stockholders and like um
And monopolies, you know, and stakeholders.
hmm. Yeah, and it's not, and it doesn't really think of mankind as like one. So I think that is one of the changes that's going to take place when institutions start thinking of mankind as one, and we see that. I think this idea is also kind of there in this conscious capitalism idea, where it takes into account all the stakeholders of something, of a company. So like that includes the environment, and that includes like the workers and stuff like this. Everyone's included. So when companies have more of that oneness, holistic perspective, I think we'll have that transformation. We'll be able to transform a lot of these evil things into good things because they'll be more in tune with the true reality than the false reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Change is definitely coming every day. I see things, I'm thinking, it's on its way. But it's all inevitable. Good wins, and that's the end of it, you know? And things will change.
What made, I'm just curious, but like what got you to be like reborn again in 2001? What was what happened there?
I prayed. I was desperate. I just had this, I think after 9/11, for some reason I had this kind of premonition of disaster. You know, it's hard to explain, but I really thought I just had this like funny premonition that something not so great was going to happen. And then my waters broke, but I didn't go into delivery. I didn't go into labour. And
Hmm,
they said, you don't go into labour by the third day, we will have to induce you and then possibly cesarean. So
hmm,
third came and nothing happened. And I was out here. I had this sense of doom that something terrible were going to happen. And I just thought to myself, I was a management accountant at the hospital that I was in.
hmm,
Uh, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go down to the chapel. I'll just pray. I'm just going to ask God to help me. And I was really just doing it as like, I just thought going through the motions, you know. I was sort of like trapped. I knew something had to happen because my life couldn't go on with this big bump in front of me.
hmm,
And afraid of what were coming, because I just felt like this is sort of like going in the direction that I feared it was going to go. So I went down to the chapel and I couldn't even think what to ask for because I wasn't spiritual. I'd no real connect to God. I sort of believed, but I was just nowhere. It was like all nominal stuff from being a kid. And I
hmm,
went into and I didn't even know what to ask for because I thought I could only ask for one thing. I just got in my mind I could only ask for one thing. So I'm thinking, well, what if I ask for me to be, for not me to die, but then my baby dies? But then what if I ask for my baby to live, but then I die? And just the trauma of all this, it was just like I'm almost bursting into tears saying, just
Oh my
please,
goodness.
everything. And then I went back to the delivery room and they said, we're going to take you down and you're going to try and induce you, which they did. Nothing happened with that. So then they was going to give me this cesarean. And the doctor was really not a nice doctor. He was just, there was something wicked about this guy. I'm not
Mm,
going to go into details what he did to me, but wicked. There was something
mm.
wicked that he, and I was laid on the hospital bed with a white sheet over me, and I noticed my toe was sticking out. My foot was sticking out under the sheet, and this like voice spoke to me and said, "Later today, you're going to be in the morgue. Your parents, your mother's going to have to come. You're going to have a toe tag on. You see this? This is what you'll be looking like in the morgue." And I could see this wicked doctor, and he was like trying to boss the anaesthetist and the nurses around him to rush me into theatre and said, "I've got an outpatient's appointment at 2 o'clock, and I need this done all by then." And they was like looking at each other, frozen, thinking, "Is this what this maniac doctor trying to do to this woman to try and get this cesarean done in a short period of time?" And I remember saying to God, God, I asked you to help me, and you sent me Satan, and this doctor's going to butcher me and kill me. I'm going to end up dead. And and the sort of an inner voice said, "You didn't give God much choice, Stephanie, because of the way you'd lived your life." And I was sort of thinking, well, I hadn't been I was never a really wicked person, but I was fairly selfish, fairly
Mm.
self-centered. Um, you know, I could have done a lot better with my life than what I'd done at that point. I certainly not thought much about God or other people. And I realised that no, I hadn't given God much choice really. Sort of brought this to myself because I am behaved in any way to avoid it. So I sort of resigned myself. Well, I got what's coming. This is what's coming to me. And then I goes and gets onto a trolley to meet me inevitable death. They paralysed the bottom half of me with a thing, went into the theatre room, and then all of a sudden, I'm going into the theatre room, and it's as if I went into paradise. I can't even explain it. I asked them, "Did you give me any drugs? What did you do?" No, we didn't give you nothing. You just got the anaesthetic, the epidural anaesthetic. So I was still fully conscious, and I could just feel this peace. The doctor that was supposed to do it were nowhere in sight. My husband at the time had said that man's not operating on my wife. They brought in the top obstetrician, which I knew who he was. He was because I was the management accountant. I knew all the doctors in the hospital. I was thinking, I've suddenly gone from this, butcher Baghdad to the top obstetrician, and he did the cesarean for me. He lifted the daughter out, but I knew I believed there was Jesus in that room. And I was thinking to myself, because I was an accountant at the hospital, and
Mm.
very logically thinking, and I was thinking, I could feel that there was Jesus in the room. And I was embarrassed, thinking, what are they gonna and what am I gonna say when they ask me why Jesus is in the room for my baby? I'm thinking I don't even know what to say to anybody. Um, but I just this peace came over me, and then my husband came up to me, and first thing I said to him, I says, "You were here one day," and he said, "Who were here?" I said, "What? Who do you mean? Who?" Because I thought everybody were aware of what were going on. I
Oh,
thought
wow.
everybody in the room, the doctor and the whole lot, were aware of what I were aware of. It was just like being in heaven. I was thinking, this is really not normal. But I was when my husband came home, he says, he were here, wasn't he? I said, who? Who do you mean, who? Jesus. And he's looking at me as if what's happened. And but I knew something had happened. God had answered my prayers. And then I went back up to it all went all very well. Went back up to the hospital room that night. I feel this like waterfall of joy pouring over me from heaven. And I'm literally shaking and I'm crying with joy. I'm thinking, I've never felt joy in all my life. Where do I know this joy from? But I was being cleansed. It was like all the filth and all the sin, all the horrible that it was just gone. And all I could think of was I just had good holy thoughts in my mind from that moment on. I wanted to say something about the doctor that were going to butcher me,
Hmm.
and because he'd done the first cesarean, and I'd been in agonising pain. I'd had a cesarean with my firstborn son. I'd been in agonising pain, but I just thought that were normal, And I
Hmm.
realized after I'd had the second cesarean, the second surgeon must have repaired damage that the first one had done. And I wanted to curse the doctor that had butchered me, my first one, I thought were going to kill me this time. And I wanted to say some really nasty swear words come out my mouth, like you, da 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 da. Da. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't. It's like I had a new heart. I was wanting to,
Um,
and it just came out. And I heard this voice say, don't say that. Pray for his patients. Pray for the people that are going to come under that doctor. And I was thinking, that thought didn't come from me. I know his thought didn't come from me. I don't think like this.
yeah,
But
right, right.
prayers work because I went down to the chapel and now look what's happened to me. So then I'm like praying for these patients. It was just like that. It was just a totally twilight zone. I had absolutely no idea of thoroughly what had happened to me. But when I got discharged from the hospital, I ran upstairs. I just knew somewhere. I had a 4-story house at the time by the canal, and I
Hmm.
ran up to the top. We'd done the roof out and put a room up there. And under the eaves, I knew there was a box, and somewhere in the box was a New Testament. And I've just had the cesarean. I've just got a baby, and all I can think of is I need to find out what's gone on. This is not normal. And I did, and that was just the beginning of a journey. And it was wonderful. So that was what happened to me after
Wow.
9/11. So God has got a plan. He's got a plan. Even when we see all this horrible stuff, He's using that as cover to go in and rescue those souls that need rescuing, like I did myself. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
be hopeful about.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's such a uh beautiful and like magical birthing experience. I
On
guess
again.
yeah, it's quite significant event for everyone, but that sounds like even more significant.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Wonderful, and yeah, very big privilege. I was glad to be saved. I was glad to have that soul of the Messiah revealed to me, because I was going nowhere without it.
So can I ask you like how how do you or what religion do you identify with, I guess? Because I thought in my mind I had you in the Jewish faith category, but I don't know.
Yeah, I started off as a believer, and then um, I went I went into a Church of England, and then I moved up to Scotland, went Church of Scotland, and I started to really study about it. And I had another very, very profound experience when I was on the island of Mull that made me aware very early on in my faith that God was one. There's a oneness to Him that was revealed to me. when I were up on the island of Mull. I'm not going to go into details because I don't think anybody would believe me if I were to tell them anyway. But very profound happened to me that made me realise God were one. We're already questioning some of the things in Christianity. And so I started to go towards Torah because I heard that the Jewish people say every day, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one." So I was thinking they know something, they know what I've experienced of God because
Mm,
I asked pastors about it and didn't get even responded to. But when I heard that, I was thinking they know something about God. They know something that um, isn't known within Christianity. And that started my journey towards Judaism. And eventually I left Christianity altogether and I went to Judaism. So I learned the Hebrew, went to Israel 22 times, went to live in Jewish community. My children went into Jewish school. And I was going to convert to Judaism. I actually went that far, got registered at Beth Din and everything. And by the grace of God, it never happened. So, but I could never really go back to Christianity. I also knew that, as I knew really that Judaism was not the whole truth either. And I struggled to understand the truth about Yeshua from Christianity, given all the doctrine of Roman Catholicism. And, you know, going back to this concept of Trinity, I really struggled with it because I'd experienced this oneness of God. And I went away from I felt like there was a lot of hypocrisy and there was a lot of contradictions in the New Testament. This is not my opinion at the time. I couldn't reconcile the differences. I didn't have a sufficient knowledge of God. But then when I went into Judaism, I started to get into the secret teachings in Judaism, the esoteric teachings, and suddenly all the questions that I had in Christianity, what I had to leave for because I felt that there wasn't the truth. I started to get the answers, find the answers in Judaism for the reason why I'd left Christianity. And then
mm.
the penny started to drop. And then I had an experience after I'd completely left Christianity. I had this experience that the Messiah Yeshua turned up. I had a vision, a waking vision of the Yeshua turn up. That's an whole other story as well. But then I thought, is Satan trying to deceive me with this vision? So I had a real wrestle to figure out what was the truth. And it's just taken me on a long journey. I have gained a lot of tremendous truth from Christianity and a lot of tremendous truth from Judaism. I wouldn't call myself either. I'm starting
Wow.
to learn now truth in Islam. I don't consider myself affiliated to any religion at all. I serve the one true God. I see myself as Israel 100%. I can't deny this because when I study the text, I know that I was part of the lost house of Israel that was returned through Yeshua. There's reasons why I know that because of you can just see yourself in the Word of God and you know who you align to and you resonate. You resonate that way. So I see
Mm.
myself as of Israel. I obviously have a lot of great respect for both Christians and the Jewish people, but I don't see myself as them. I'm waiting for the one true religion where I'm waiting for the next thing or whatever's to come. But I don't necessarily feel affiliated with anything, but I don't reject anything either. It's hard for me to describe.
No, that makes sense to me. I think the labels are overrated too. So I don't really like to be like, oh, they're Jewish, they're Christian, da 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 da. I actually do believe this idea of one religion. Like there's just one religion. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's the religion of God, and you kind of are you uh trying to uh build your capacities to uh exhibit godly values or not? And that's pretty much That's
Yeah,
pretty
this
much it. Yeah.
thing,
Truthfulness, humility,
yeah,
those are all qualities you're going for.
yeah. I think religions have brought us so far. They've brought us so far, like well, there's a lot of theory involved in it. They've brought us so far, but there's something we've got to go to the next level. I think we've got to go to that next level where we've got to lose that label, like you say, we're clinging to something that really is not what is the ultimate plan. It's not really God's ultimate plan to have all these religions at war with each other. His plan is for unity and to reveal his oneness. You got to get on board with that. But it's not easy to let go of something that we powerfully identify with. We feel safe. We want to feel safe and secure spiritually. And sometimes it's very difficult to be a pioneer, to be different. But
True.
yeah, it's difficult. I was in limbo for a long time. When I moved out of the Jewish community and came to live up in Scotland, it was a very, very difficult time to not be anything, you know,
Yeah.
anything. It was a really difficult time. And then I had another very profound spiritual awakening where I was meditating on the holy name. I've got a picture of it up on my wall. The holy name Yod Heh Wahweh written in Hebrew.
Mm.
And then one Shabbat, because I keep the seventh day Shabbat still, I keep the commandments and things like that. I practice like eating kosher and things like this still. The light of there was a light coming out of the letters. I was asleep on the Shabbat, and when I woke up, a light was shining out of the letters of the name into my soul,
Ooh.
and it was incredible light. It was as if I was looking face to face at God, even though I couldn't see anything. Just a light shining into my soul from the letters of the name of God. It transformed my life. It was so powerful. I just felt the kindness of God. And I felt him say, like I had this real sense of bitachon, what's called bitachon trust, that I was safe. Like he had his hand over me and I was safe. And just really wonderful revelation of his name, but I also realized that, like I just had this feel that he was so worthy. He was so worthy, of our love and respect. I had to do something in my life to try and bring about unity. We're not on our own, we even if like you have this concept when I experienced that just this great desire, every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. And I just knew in my life, every human being needs this to shine into their soul. Every human needs this light to shine into their soul. And, what can I do about it? So I started teaching about 5 years ago. I think about 6 years ago when that light shone into my life, and it's transformed me. It was like another born again experience, but different from that. It was much more. It was a much different kind of feeling, just to feel safe and secure and to have shalom and to just really have faith in the power of his name. You
Mm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
want that his name to be revealed for other people. So that were it were a really powerful experience. But I believe I had to let go of everything. It was like I was so searching at the time because I was in this limbo. I'd left everything, and I ended up with nothing spiritually, no community. I used to go to synagogue every week, and it's a very, very strong sense of community and sense of belonging and purpose and ritual and belonging. And then to suddenly have nothing, it was very
Mm.
difficult spiritually. But
Mm-hmm.
just being patient enough to let go of it all created that ability to, okay, right, now you're ready for some truth. And it, like I say, it shone into my soul and it was wonderful. And I really would want every single human being to have. I'd love everybody, every human being, to feel God's face shining upon them in love. To know how beloved each human is. I really love humanity to feel that and to get it. And I don't feel like religion in itself can offer that to people.
Mm.
Oh, I think it's got to be authentic spirituality. I think we've got to be in relationship with the living God, and feel Him, feel His presence.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Um, but I feel like religion, like, is God trying to help us in
Yeah,
some way. So like, but then we screw it up, right? Like that's our classic thing. We always God helps us and we screw it up in some way.
it's so easy. It's so easy to lose that light in
Yeah.
religion. The
Hmm.
light of Yeshua, that soul that touched me when I was born again. It's so easy for the light to go out, and then religion seems to dampen it down because everybody wants it to be normal somehow. I don't know, but God don't want us like that. He wants us to be fully alive,
Mm.
spiritually awake and effective at building up His kingdom on earth and being the change in this world. You know, um, He doesn't just want us to conform to everything that we see. You know.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely like um there's this idea of unity through diversity, and
Yeah.
it seems like God really likes variety and he likes to make all these different things. But there is this idea of the oneness of everything. So there's this weird like relationship of different things working together as one that seems to be like kind of a core uh building block of life or something like that.
Yeah. The way that I've understood it is Yeshua came at the level of Mashiach ben Yosef, which this is the Messiah. The first coming of the Messiah is really about self-destruct. It's like
Mm,
self-sacrifice. We've
mm-hmm.
got to do ourselves. Christ is about dying to self, but Messiah ben David, the second coming of Messiah, is about rebuilding ourselves. It's like he says, 3 days I will destroy this temple, in 3 days I will rebuild it. So it's about rebuilding a better self, a holy
Yeah,
self. It's not being in a state of continual self-sacrifice, continually dying to yourself. At some point, you've got to say, okay, so I've been humbled now. Now let's see what I can do to build. And it's about rebuilding yourself back up in a much more dignified, honourable way. And this is what you will for other people too. You think, how can that person build themselves back up so they are the most dignified, best version of themselves that they could possibly be? Instead of being fragile or broken or ruined, how can that person feel whole, secure, safe, rebuilt, trusted, trustworthy, joyous, loving, kind, faithful, gracious? How are they going to be vessels, if you like, filled with all that rather than all the other rubbish that breaks people? So the second coming of Messiah is really about rebuilding that temple, which we are the temple. We got to house the living God. You know what I mean? We not got to house the fears and foolishness of this world. And a lot of people do, and that breaks them. We're not meant to house fear and depression and sadness and disease and things like this perpetually. It becomes like uh, we get broken and we're carrying all that around. So we've got to rebuild ourselves so we're just filled with that light, filled with that holy strength and power and spirit and uh, like a of temple for God or a house of prayer for all peoples.
Yeah,
You know that
I love that
is
idea. And
all peoples.
it's funny because it kind of like I kind of have a bit of an opposite thing going on in my head where um there is like I like this one of these ideas is that we're like candles and
Yeah,
so we have to kind of sacrifice ourselves and that sacrifice is like the melting of the wax
yeah,
uh and as we melt and sacrifice ourselves we're kind of burning a flame. We're a burning flame that's giving off light and heat and warmth. And so like my thought around what you were saying was like, well, maybe we actually built ourselves up in the first thing, right? Before we kind of knew God. And then when we kind of got to know God more, um, we kind of are burning away all those things that we built up that may be impure or like, I don't know, just all this stuff we've built up over our lifetime. And
yeah.
yeah,
There's a
but
there's a different vision in the book of Zechariah, chapter 4, where you've
mm,
got menorah, which represents the light, the lamp of the world, the light of the world,
mm,
and godliness and things like that. This is one of the things that were in the holy temple. But at the side of it's got two olive trees, so it's continually feeding the menorah. So
mhm,
if you've got like living olive trees, and I mean, I've got different. I believe that the two olive trees are actually Ephraim and Manasseh. There's one of the ways of interpreting it, but to have a continual feeding of that. So we're not just relying on our own strength. To
mm,
see ourselves as, yeah, we are a light and we are a lamb. There is definitely sacrifice involved, but the ultimate sacrifice is to go through that circumcision, to circumcise yourself, to get rid of the bad aspects of yourself rather than all yourself. Like the difference between circumcision and castration is quite different.
mhm.
You castrate yourself, but then you can't fulfill any of the holy obligations like um you know the joy of having a family and stuff like that and
Yeah,
all
we
the
can't be
holy
fruitful and multiply.
all this. So you don't need to castrate yourself. That's the ultimate sacrifice. You got to circumcise yourself so that all the aspects of your life is given over to holiness. You're directing it towards holiness. You're using the normal natural drives of life, but instead of wasting that on depravity, you've got some sort of holy focus and holy goal and holy mission to fulfill with that. So it's like, yeah, you do have to sacrifice yourself. You got to sacrifice that aspect of you that would want to do evil, and that takes some subduing, you know.
Mhm.
And but rather than castrate yourself, you've got to sanctify yourself. You know, you've got to sanctify your lips. You've got to sanctify what your eyes see. You've got to sanctify what your ears hear. You got to put yourself in a place where you're not exposed to things that are evil. You're not thinking evil, speaking evil, doing evil. You're thinking about what's holy. Um, so you sacrifice yourself that does evil. Yes, you're in a Satan, you're in a Yetzirah, your evil inclination, but you've got to rebuild that holy good self up. Your fully circumcised self. because that is the temple, that is like a living temple for God. So self-sacrifice is very important. True humility is very important. But castration and you know, killing off what's good isn't, you know?
Yeah. There's this kind of idea of like the lower self and the higher self. And
Yeah.
I think they're like I do have an impulse to just like destroy my lower self or like just kill my lower self or something like that, right? But there is this that kind of goes against this idea of oneness, right? Because if I'm like destroying or killing or doing anything bad to something, that's kind of like my lower self doing stuff and then like if I'm attacking this thing that's myself, I'm just kind of attacking myself. Like that doesn't make any sense. So um there's this kind of the lower self and higher self are also one in a weird way. And I don't know. I guess it's like you can't have a higher self without a lower self kind of thing. It's like
What happens is the more that negative dies off, the more the higher self comes and dwells within, the more the higher self takes over. Like I
yeah.
used to conflict between body and soul because I used to feel the conflict. I don't feel any conflict within myself anymore. I'm not a
Mm,
perfect being, but I have no conflict between body and soul anymore. This is a concept of Mashiach riding on his donkey, by the way, because it really means that the Messiah, which is the highest part of your soul, rides upon the donkey, which is the lowest part of the soul. Now, you
mm,
imagine if the Messiah was coming along and beating that donkey up because it didn't do exactly as it told.
right.
It's
Yeah.
respect the man that did that. I mean, we got to have respect for our body. Do you know why? Because the resurrection from the dead is God's gift and reward for our body's service to Him. So our soul will live eternally. It don't need resurrection from the dead, but our body will be rewarded with a resurrection from the dead because it served God. It served God in its capacity. It's like a donkey, the Messiah riding on the donkey. So we've got to have peace with our bodies because our body's going to get the greatest reward. It will be rewarded with literally the resurrected life. So we can't live in this. When you're younger, you're a lot younger than me. I had that conflict. As you get older, and the more you learn to control your lower natures, the more at peace you are, your body and soul will be. Your body and soul is more in peace. But this is the concept of Mashiach. Now, you've got two perspectives which you can look at this. Now, you can see yourself as the donkey with a Mashiach riding on it. That's one perspective. You're still
Mm.
in the body, but you're aware there's this good higher self somewhere out there.
Yeah.
You yourself up to the level of the Messiah. You've got to be at the level of the soul, looking at your body. One of the ways that I learned how to control my body was I used to go into the cold water a lot. And when I
Mm-hmm.
went into the cold water, like, I mean, really freezing cold water with ice on, I was literally, my body didn't want to do it. Now, I was doing it for holy reasons, like mikveh, ritual, family purity, and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that it was a command for me to do this, according to the Torah as I read it.
Oh.
Part of my body was like, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to. And, you know, the fear, my body was in control. I knew I had to do it, but my body and all my fear and all the tension, and I had to calm my body down. I had to say, you're not going to die. You're going to do this. You're going to do it quietly. And now I'll just go into the water. And honestly, my body will go into freezing cold water and it won't even gas. You can control your body. And but time, it takes time. You got to reassure. You want to do things like that, but it does give you a lot of confidence. Um, but if you've got also a discipline with your like in terms of your body, like be careful about what you eat. If you've got these kinds of discipline and your body don't give over to um just eating a whole load of rubbish or whatever, it's not good for you. Or you're sitting there watching hours of porn or whatever. This is just going to excite your body. It's just like feeding a wild animal. It's going to be causing you problems. You can discipline yourself and calm that down. Your body will respond to the authority of your soul. Eventually, it does take time. Eventually, you go from being at the level of the donkey, knowing that there's something good, to being at the level of your soul, knowing riding the donkey. Do you understand
Yeah.
what I'm? You just have
Yeah,
to
no,
learn that.
totally. I feel like yeah, I that's it's a good it's something I need to practice and work on. And I do feel like meditation was actually very useful for something like that. Like it kind of disconnects you from your body a little bit and or yeah, keeps you from identifying with it so much and then you can actually really relax into your own body. It's like, oh wow, I didn't realize I can feel so comfortable from just meditating or just sitting down or something like that.
It's always work in progress. I've got work in progress to do even now. At 50 years old, I've got a lot of things I'm still physically working on. I'm not a perfected vessel by any means, but I'm going in the right direction. You've got to be very kind to yourself.
Mm,
Never cruel to yourself. Imagine
mm,
it's an animal. It's made a certain way. Never be cruel to yourself. Always be compassionate. Like be like a good because sometimes like living in this world it really does fire your flesh up to think a certain way. It causes your body to respond in a certain way, and you need the full power of your soul to calm that influence down. So you need to be able to subdue all that influence um, that your body experiences in this world at this time. It's almost, I used to liken it to a war horse. Like the war horse it's literally we're in a state of war. It's just a state of conflict wherever you go. And you've got to, I saw these war horses, they're like blinkered up and going forward because they know they've got to get through this field and there's bombs going and there's shouting and there's everything to cause that horse to but want to bolt, but it's got to go against its nature and just keep going. But I just say to myself, think you've got to like encourage yourself. Sometimes I'll say to myself, "You're a good donkey." You know, I'm, I remind myself of it's just a body I'm dealing with. This
yes.
is where my soul lives. You know, and it serves me well. It serves me well. Like I remember this one time when I was in Judaism, there's a lot of prayers in Judaism. There's a lot of expectations on study and prayers. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, a big commitment that you've got to make. And then one day I was so tired after saying this really long prayer. I went to, I had like some milk to put away and my prayer book to put back on the shelf. And I put the Sidor in the fridge and the milk on the bookcase. I was so
Oh,
tired. And I remember thinking, that's your body is so, that's why your body's rewarded because even when you've been tired, you've used your body's strength to do something like pray in holiness or whatever, even to the point of its exhaustion. Like I say, going in that water and stuff, your body don't want to go in freezing cold water, but your soul hates to go in. And then it don't even say anything now, just goes in the cold water, nice and quiet. It'll just wait till I've said all my prayers for my family. Sometimes it's like, okay, it's cold now, it's cold.
yeah, no, I do that a little bit. I'll rather than in like an ice bath or anything, I'll just like take a shower and then I'll turn off the hot water and blast the cold water for like a few minutes and yeah, it really gets you going, gets you breathing and gets the blood flowing and yeah.
Got to learn to love your body because it's
Hmm.
going to be resurrected. and and it will come back in a much better form than what it is now, but it will come back because of the reward. This body that you have got, it'll be rewarded for how it has served God, not your soul, how your body has got up, how many times it's bent down on floor to pray like the Muslims, how many times it's like gone into cold water to be mikvahed, how many times it's refused to eat that because it's not what it, even though it's hungry, it's not what's right to eat. All these things it'll be rewarded for. So you've got to really learn how to love and respect your body
Mm.
and not it up. Not even emotionally, not be unkind to yourself, be
Yeah,
understanding,
yeah.
or be very forgiving. Your body needs the name of God as much as your soul needs to have the name of God revealed to it, you
I
know?
appreciate that. And I really like that idea of the body being the donkey and your higher self is like Jesus or something. That's a nice image.
Humble and riding on a donkey.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, how it's written about. I'm going to have to go now because it's getting late. It's 3:30 in the morning
Yeah,
here.
we've been going. Thank you so much for the conversation and I think we really yeah, we got deep into this oneness discussion and hopefully people watching can glean some nice ideas from this conversation.
Yeah. If you can find a way for me to get the video at all, I can put it on my YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I can what's a good way to share it with you? Because it is kind of like they're kind of longer videos, so they're kind of bigger files.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dropbox works or
I don't know because I'm not used to sharing such big videos, but I'll have a think about it.
okay, yeah. Yeah, may just work on Google Drive, but Dropbox is a bit I have more space on there, I think. So, okay, cool. I'll share it with you.
Wonderful.
Thank
Okay
you so
then.
much, Stephanie.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom to you.
Thank you.